Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us this Monday afternoon. Give it a few minutes and see if we can get a few more people in. And if you guys don't mind, type it in the chat and let us know where you are actually viewing from. Friend Joshua said he got an invite to join, so I'm glad you were able to make it here. I from Australia. That's a beautiful thing. What I've learned is that this addiction business is one that has no boundaries, and so my job here today, what I like to hopefully accomplish, is just giving a brief introduction of myself and Never Alone Recovery. Give you a little bit of information about what it is we do and why we do what we do. And so honestly, and then I also like to open the door to some of the things we'll begin to do in the near future. As I personally believe, and we also understand, is that again, addiction doesn't care who I am, where I'm from, how I grew up, who I know. I believe in one way or another, everybody is affected or impacted in some way by the disease of addiction. And so one of the things we hope to do is to continue to break the stigma while also providing education, awareness, prevention, information and resources and techniques. And by also then letting you guys know, anybody who's listening or watching, that we know too. And so I'll go into a brief introduction about myself and why I ended up in this space on this live this beautiful day. And so again, my name is Keithan. I am a member of the Never Alone Recovery team. And today I get to be in a space where I get to utilize my experience, my education, any gain knowledge or any information that I've compiled over the years through my walk through life. And I get to share that information to possibly help somebody else not have to go through all the pains that I've experienced. I will say that I lost my mother to the disease of addiction in 2004. I lost one of my best friends in 2016. I lost a cousin 2021. And then there's been countless others, right? And so I know what it's like to have addiction destroy a life or ruin a relationship. And although I was not in a space or a place or had the ability to be able to save those people that I loved and held dear to my heart, I get to be in a space where I get to possibly help somebody else reconnect or rekindle the relationship or heal their family. And so I too am myself am a person in recovery. I celebrated 10 years free from drugs, alcohol, and gambling July 21st this year. And so, I didn't just end up going to school, getting some information, and then, finding a job with a place that helps those, struggling with addiction. I walked the path myself. And in my earlier years of life, I was seen as the person in the family who would be the most likely to succeed. I was the child who the family members would use me as the measuring stick of how the other children in the family should be behaving. And I was placed on this pedestal, and I was given this bright shining light around me as if, you know, I was truly an angel. And that was the earlier years. But at some point along the way, I discovered that through just growing up and being a curious child, I discovered alcohol and marijuana. And that was my beginning. And, you know, a few years later, after that initial discovery, it got to the point where that was my driving motivation. That was the thing which, even, you know, my freshman and sophomore years of high school were centered around experiencing that intoxication again. And for the next 20 years or so, the substances progressed. The amount of money I spent on those substances increased. The things I was willing to do to be able to take part in either the addiction or the compulsive behaviors, that increased. And so, you know, I had like the textbook story of what it is to be a person struggling with addiction. I started out, things were fun, things were, you know, it enhanced my quality of life. And by the end, it just took everything from me. And so there was this period of 20 years where when it started, I would go to high school, I would get intoxicated prior to school, I would go to school, I would skip some classes, I would get intoxicated during lunch break, I would gamble during gym class, I would leave school early, and I would go home to a buddy's friend or to my home, and then I'd repeat and I continued the process. And that became my life for the next 20 years, right? So there were maybe a few changes, such as I had gotten 20 years older. I was living in a new community. I had new friends surrounding me, or people, you know, surrounding me. And I was no longer in high school. I just took this into the employment arena. And so the same thing I did at 13 years old, I'm now doing at 30 years old, where I get intoxicated before work. I go to work. I take a lot of extra breaks. I get intoxicated during those breaks. I hang out with the people who do the things that I do. I sneak out of work early, and the moment I get out of work, I'm planning my next high. And so that landed me in a position of basically sitting in my car one day with tears running down my face and thinking about the only escape from this life that I keep living, the only escape from this vicious cycle is suicide. And so as I contemplated suicide, tears running down my face, me screaming and yelling to myself and in disbelief of how I ended up in this place again. My life's over. I'm going to jail again. I'm losing another relationship. The woman's leaving again. I'm losing a job again. I'm broke again. The tears ran down my face. And in that moment, there was a surrender. That was the first moment in my life where I couldn't come up with another plan on how to get myself out of this sticky jam again. And so the thing that led me to sitting in my car with the tears running down my face was there was one week in July where I was on a run. And this particular week, it just so happened to be gambling that brought me to this ledge. And in this week, I maxed out all the credit cards, overdrafted all the bank accounts, schemed and scammed and stole and manipulated all the people close to me that would be willing to assist me financially. And by the end of it, that Saturday, I had nowhere else to turn other than the safe at my job, which I knew could answer my financial problems. And so that's where I went. Wednesday morning, I went to work, and I left work on Wednesday and I went to the casino. And then I left the casino Thursday morning and went to work. And then I left work on Thursday evening and I went back to the casino. And so this was the progression of that week. And that led me to that Saturday. And that Saturday, when I went to work, I had that bright idea that I'm going to borrow this money from this wonderful establishment. And after I borrow this money, I'm going to go and I'm going to double it up. I got a plan. and I'm going to sneak this money back into the job when I come back. And worst case scenario is I'll lose my job. That's the worst case scenario, right? So I'm okay with, at this point, the thing that's keeping me afloat somewhat, I'm okay with not having that, as long as I can make this moment right. And so that led me to going to the casino Saturday night, leaving the casino on Saturday night, and or leaving the casino on Sunday morning when it's time to go back to work. The problem is my plan didn't work out as I intended. And so I went to work knowing that this will be my last day here. I went to work knowing that once it was found out that this money was missing, that I was the supervisor on duty and I would be notified. And so that's what happened. And I spent that Sunday shift for 8 hours or 9 hours that I was there that Sunday, cleaning up my belongings, putting away, the things that, cleaning up my office and packing up my belongings. But I spent the bulk of that time in the surveillance room watching myself commit this crime again. And knowing that, again, this is the end. I have nowhere else to turn. I have nobody else that I can call, and no other game plans. This was the one that was supposed to work. This was the one that was supposed to save me, and it didn't work out that way. And so I had a friend of mine who I ran the streets with, and I used substances with, and we partied and lived the life with. That friend was the one who said to me, "Man, you need help, and I'm gonna reach out and I'm gonna call somebody, and I'm going to find you some help." And had it not been in that moment where I had that level of pain, I don't know that I would have accepted the help. But I was so broken in that moment. I had exhausted every other resource that I could think of. I was willing to accept help from a friend. And the funny part, or the ironic part, it's pretty bad when there's a person that's, as you intoxicated heavily, there's the person right next to you. It's kind of messed up when that person is the one saying, "My friend, I think you need some help." But that was my experience. And so I ended up in the treatment center. And so I am an advocate of treatment. I am an advocate of friends and family members making a phone call to recovery centers and getting the resources and getting a person connected to a resource or a facility that can treat their addictions. I'm a supporter of anyone who provides the information, whether it's well received, because it's about planting these seeds. And so this friend called this treatment center and got me connected and got me set up for an intake. And I was able to go into this intake process. And they said, "Well, we don't have a program for gambling, but let us ask you some questions about your drug and alcohol consumption." And as we go through this intake process and they ask me all these questions, I answer them to the best of my ability. But just like, people get pulled over and the police ask, "Well, have you been drinking? How many drinks have you had?" And the person says, "Well, I had a couple beers." I gave some of those answers, and I wasn't trying to be dishonest. In my mind, I really didn't drink that much. I really didn't use that much. As I sat in that intake appointment, I had my significant other with me, and she, kind of snickered at some of my answers. Like, "What do you mean a couple?" And she began to provide the information from her point of view. So I'm thankful for it, and also a supporter of, those loved ones who are willing to be there with us along the way. And so by the end of that intake, they explained that, yeah, though we don't have a program for gambling, which is why you initially reached out, we believe our program that treats alcohol and drug addiction will be a perfect fit for you. And so I was welcomed into that program. And as I went into that program, they broke down some of the basics, right? They explained to me what it meant to be powerless over drugs and alcohol. They explained to me this idea that alcoholism and drug addiction was an illness, a disease, and it was it was more than just me not having the willpower to not do the things I was doing. It was more than me not being motivated or determined or having lacking ambition. This thing was about my brain having a different my brain and my body having a different reaction to these chemicals that I had been consuming on a daily basis over this long period of time. And that made sense to me because I couldn't understand why I was unable to stop when I said to myself, and I meant it from the bottom of my heart, I'm not doing this to my life today. I was unable to not pick up a drink or a drug, although I swore that, man, the last time I spent all my rent money, the last time I spent the money that I was supposed to be using to purchase a car or purchase something for myself to eat, the last time I experienced this, this time I don't want to do that. I'm tired of living that way. So this time I won't do that because it's not everybody else's responsibility in my life to provide me with a meal or a roof over my head. I'm a grown man and I should be able to do these things for myself. And I would put my foot down and swear that this time I was going to do things the right way. And every time I failed. So when I get into this treatment center, they're able to explain some of these things to me. And they also then, gave me some therapy and some counseling, connected me with a psychiatrist, and then they connected me with, recovery fellowships. And they believe that if I did the things that if I followed the aftercare or the treatment plan that they provided me with, then I would no longer have to end up in that situation. And so far, as of 2013, that's been true. And so once I got out of that treatment center, a few months later, I thought, or while I was in there, I thought, this is what I'm supposed to do with my life. These people have saved my life. They've taken me from the scrap yard, and they've brought me in and they've cleaned me up and they've molded me back into a person with a life that can go somewhere. And so I took their instruction and now I got some purpose. I have a purpose. I'm going to be one of those people who helps people the same way these people helped me. And so a few months later, I end up applying for school, and I end up and I go to school and I get an associate's degree and I get a bachelor's degree, and along the lines or in that process, I was able to go back to that same treatment facility and volunteer first. And then after maybe 6 months of volunteering, I was able to get an internship because now I'm in the educational pursuit. And I'm working towards being one of these people. So they open their doors and allow me to be an intern in the facility where I was treated. After the internship, I was offered a part-time position. And with this part-time position, I was able to work closely with the therapists and the directors and the doctors that were the caretakers in this facility. From there, I continued schooling. I got certified as an addictions counselor, and I was able to work in the methadone clinic, and I was able to work with the harm reduction model, right? So I started out on this abstinence disease-based model, and I get introduced to the harm reduction model, and so I get some experience on this side of things. And a short time later, I get some experience, and then I end up connecting with the Never Alone team. And the funny part is I met the founder maybe 6 years prior to my employment starting, and we met one day, and he said to me, man, when I open a treatment center, I'm going to come back and get you. And I love for you to work for me. And 6 years later, here I am, right? And so I share my bits and pieces of my story just to say, I know what it's like. I know what it's like for my father to tell me when I'm 16 years old that he doesn't know if I'll see my 18th birthday. And I know what it's like to be on my side thinking, what's wrong with this guy? What's wrong with the person what's wrong with my number one fan? What's wrong with the biggest support system I have? What's wrong with the person who gave me life itself? What is wrong with his view of me? So something must be wrong with him. I know what it's like to have the judges and the probation officers and the partners and the friends and family and loved ones and the teachers and principals and policemen and society as a whole to look at me and say, man, something's wrong with you. You need to change. And I know what it's like to look at all those people as if they were the problem. I know what it's like, again, to lose the loved ones, to not be able to save them or fix them or cure them. I know what it's like to see, people in the recovery side of things lose their lives because they couldn't grasp the recovery process, or they weren't in a space where, they could fully commit to the things that I found worked for me. But I also know that because of my experience, I get to be placed in a position to shine the light on the fact that I'm not a junkie, I'm not a loser, I'm not a failure. My life is not meaningless. And if that be true for my life, then the same has to be true for anybody else's life, no matter where they are on their stage or where they are along their journey. Whether they're just picking up a drug for the first time or they're at the end. Maybe they've experienced overdose. Maybe they've experienced, just all the things we go through. So no matter where a person is on their journey, I get to stand here today as an example of recovery works. The same way the same way addiction was progressive, the recovery gets to be progressive. And just like I stated earlier, the way I was unable to save those near and dear to me doesn't mean that I'm not able to potentially play a part in saving those near and dear to you or saving you, right? So that's kind of who I am. With Never Alone, the thing I love about our team is, everybody's experience is not the same, but I think the mission or the goal for us is pretty obvious and pretty apparent and pretty centered around the same thing. What we hope to do is save lives, heal families, bring people back together. We want to, I know my life prior to recovery, I did nothing but take. I stole from employers and friends and anybody who would leave anything of value around. I would find some way to get it without asking for it. I stole, I stole nights of sleep from my father and my loved ones. I stole, serenity and peace of mind. I stole. I took a place to stay. I took a job and didn't really give it my all. I took people for granted and their kindness. And so I took. And today what I get to do is I get to give back. And so that's what we want to do, is to be able to give back. One of the areas in which we truly love doing this, because just like for myself, I was able to Google search and find a place that would help me with my problem with addiction. What we like to do as Never Alone is also not to forget to provide this support, to provide the resources, and to provide answers and hope to the family members. My father, It would have been nice if he had a support system to be able to say, hey, man, we've been there. We know what it's like. And here's some things we found that have worked for us and they might work for you, as you sit on the sideline and hope and pray and root for your son to get better. And so that's one of the things we like to do. Currently, we offer a weekly support group that meets 7 p.m. Central Time every Wednesday. And that support group is open to a person with an addiction to alcohol or drugs or any addiction. It's open to their family and loved ones. It's open to anybody working in the substance abuse field who want to provide insight or knowledge or experience. It's open to anybody in the community who wants more information on the disease of addiction. Because the better we are equipped to provide the proper information, the better we all are at breaking that stigma. Because again, I'm not a junkie, I'm not a loser. I'm a person who had an illness that prevented me from showing up in life and living it the way I should have been living it. And so we provide this information. So that's one of the things we do is we have this weekly online support group every Wednesday, 7 p.m. We discuss a wide range of topics. And so, that invitation is open for anyone to join. And we'd love for you to join us. The support group link is in the comments. And so we ask that you check us out. And if you would like to attend, you can sign up on the Never Alone website. You can sign up for a weekly reminder. Well, we'll send you an update or a reminder the day of, just to let you know, hey, don't forget, today is the support group, and we'd love for you to join us. We just finished an 8-session course covering one of our ebooks titled "Surviving Your Loved One's Addiction." And through that course, or through those 8 sessions, we covered areas such as, it kind of starts off with just some basic information on what addiction is. And then it goes into some signs and symptoms, because I remember in my childhood, there was a DARE program, and I remember being given some basic information about drug use, right? And they told me about what drugs look like, and some areas in the neighborhood that I might want to stay away from. And they gave me some of the dangers and some of the consequences of using these drugs. But it really didn't have any focus on addiction. I'm a person who cannot drink because I'm addicted to alcohol. But that doesn't mean that alcohol doesn't have a place in society. And so they told me some of the effects of alcohol, but they weren't able to provide me with what it meant to be addicted to alcohol, what it meant to be unable to not drink when I didn't want to drink. And so we covered some of those things. We covered, preparing for your loved one to enter treatment and what it looks like when they return from treatment. We had a guest come in and share some information about the area of boundaries and building these healthy boundaries so I can protect, so I can heal as my loved one heals. And then we just finished that session yesterday looking at relapse, right? Relapse is one of those topics where, again, without the proper information or education, I can see relapse as a negative thing. Now, yes, it would be nice if anyone who goes and seeks treatment for a substance abuse problem, addiction, alcohol, gambling, sex, whatever the case may be, if every person who walked into a recovery center or made a phone call and asked for help, it would be nice if those people were able to go and get that help and never have to turn back to that addictive behavior again. But that's not the reality we live in. The reality that we live in is probably maybe around 40% of people may need a follow-up stint of treatment. 40% may need additional treatment or additional levels of care. And so relapse then can be a part of a person's journey, can be a part of a person's story, but that does not mean it's the end of the road. And so we covered that topic. We looked at relapse and how sometimes the relapse can be the thing that allows a person to surrender the way I believe I was able to surrender 10 years ago, sitting in my car with the tears running down my face. Because no one could tell me how severe my drug and alcohol and gambling problem was. I didn't want to hear it. And it wasn't until I reached a point in my life where I was able to say enough is enough and throw my hands up. It wasn't until I reached that spot that I was again receptive to some guidance away from the way I was living. So a relapse can be that very thing. And the thing that gave me the thing that allowed me to get to that spot was using the drugs, drinking the alcohol, and placing all the bets. Nothing else got me there. So we just finished that, and that ebook is one of the resources, or the resources that we also offer. The link to that is in the comments as well. And so we are working towards continuing to be a force or to be a resource to everyone out there who's struggling with addiction, whether you're the person using the alcohol and drugs or not. We want to provide the information. We want to continue to erase the stigma. One of the biggest things I see typically around social media. There's a lot of organizations today who provide Narcan or naloxone, and that medication, or it's created to reverse an overdose, and it's specifically created for an opiate overdose. And we all know, if we all know the destruction and devastation that's being created, we'll just say the last 10 years, directly connected to opiates, heroin, or Vicodins, and that class of prescription medication and street drugs, and now fentanyl, and there's carfentanil, and like there's all these things that opiates has been the thing that's probably taken the most lives, especially in the last 10 years. And so this medication, naloxone, Narcan, is the one that allows a person experiencing an overdose from opiates to kind of be saved, right? It gives that person the opportunity to not have to lose their life based on their inability to stop using this substance. But the comments happen all the time. Oh man, they made the choice. They should face the consequences. Why do we save those people? Why aren't they working on the medication to reverse cancer? So, because those struggling with an addiction problem are placed lower than, there's a large part of society who still feels they don't deserve to live. And I'll say this from my personal experience. I never chose to go to jail. I never chose to hurt my loved ones. I never chose to not be who I was supposed to be in life. I never chose to, be homeless. I never chose to, use every dollar I could get my hands on to feed a habit. That was not my choice. Neither is it the choice of anyone who's struggling today. And so there's, again, our what we like to do is to take away from that stigma and provide the information, provide the resources, help a person who's struggling, make one phone call to us, and us allow that person an opportunity to get on the path to healing. What happens a lot of times when a person reaches out for help, because those moments of clarity do come. So when a person reaches out for help, they might call a treatment center, and that treatment center may say something like, "Oh, I'm glad you're reaching out for help, but at this moment, we have no beds available. Please call us later." we'll place you on a waiting list. We'll we can give you another number to another location who may be able to help you. And so they call that next number because they're determined in this moment to get better. And they call this other number and they might get a similar response. We'd love to help you, but unfortunately, we won't have a bed open until next week. Here's another number. If my life is controlled by these substances and every decision I make is dictated by the desire to stay or my need to stay under the influence, that moment of clarity is short. The window of my opportunity to follow through with my desire to change is very small. And you telling me when I call you that you can help me in a week, you can help me in a month, you can help me in a couple of days, I don't know how I can make it that long. And so what we try to do is you place one phone call to us and we'd love to get you set up based on your individual needs, based on your substance use and your history with the substances, based on, whatever your financial situation may be, your insurance or lack of insurance. We try to provide an opportunity for that window to be shortened or smaller so you can make a phone call and then you can get help. And so I have enjoyed every part of this journey for myself. And today I get to be in a position where I can say one of the greatest things that ever happened to me in my life was stealing that money from my job, getting another criminal charge, losing that woman, losing that job, being broke and homeless again. That was one of the greatest moments of my life, because it was only through that pain that my life that I was able to be turned around. It was only through all of those experiences that I was able to get to that place where I was willing to throw my hands up again and say, I'll accept this help finally, because the help had been offered. And so for anyone out there who is struggling currently with addiction, give us a call. We'd love to help. For anyone who's a family member or a loved one, and they seem to be in a position of hopelessness where, they've done everything, they've gave everything, they know, there are no more answers or they need more information, join us on Wednesdays or give us a call and we love to help. And, I'll say this because this is probably one of the least comfortable things I've had to do in a long time, was to go on this live stream and share about myself and share about Never Alone Recovery, share a little information about, addiction and recovery. But what's stronger than my desire to be comfortable is to provide this information. So as I opened up and stated that, I get to contribute to life today, I have a responsibility to give away what was given to me. And so I'm willing to step out of my comfort zone to be in a position where, regardless of what it feels like for me, this information might help save a life. And so, I think that's pretty much all I'll cover. Moving forward, these live streams will be more regular. The idea is to try them out on Mondays, 1 p.m. Central Time. Kind of thinking of maybe a catchy little tune to add to it, or a something to call it. Mindful Mondays was something that used to be used in the past with live streams on Mondays. And, I don't know if that really fits me, but we'll think of something. But the idea is to come, allow me to get more comfortable in this space and allow me to continue to, regardless of how I feel, share information that may help save a life or bring a family back together or heal anyone in any relationship that may be struggling from addiction. And so be on the lookout. I won't be as nervous. I'll have a more structured topic or discussion, focused on some of the things that we think are important to share. And if I don't see you on Monday, I sure hope to see you on Wednesday. And so I will go ahead and kind of end it there. I wasn't able to really respond to any of the comments because, again, this is the first time for me. But I will review those comments and I'll do a better job the next time. So again, join me on Wednesday. Join us on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central Time or Mondays at 1 p.m. Central Time, and be on the lookout for any and every other piece of information we have available to provide to help you along your recovery journey. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And I think that I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you.